Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 3, entitled Liberation from the Illusory Energy. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Text 26. Shraddham Bhagavate Shastre. Shraddham Bhagavate Shastre. Nindam Anyatra Chapihi. Nindam Anyatra Chapihi. Manovakkarma dandam cha. Manovakkarma dandam cha. Satyam shama dhamavapi. Satyam shama dhamavapi. Shraddham Bhagavate Shastre. Nindam Antyatra Chapihi. Manovakkarma dandam cha. Satya Shama Dhamavapi. Shraddham Bhagavate Shastre. Nindam Anyatra Chapihi. Manovakkarma dandam cha. Satyam Shama Samavapi. Shraddham Bhagavate Shastre. Nindam Anyatra Chapihi. Manova cha. Satyam Shama Samavapi. Shraddham Bhagavate Shastre. Tam Nishchitra Chapihi. Manovakkarma dandam cha. Satyam Shamadhamavapi. Satyam Shamanate Shastri. Satyam Manovakkarma dandam cha. Ladies. Shraddham Bhagavate Shastre. Nindam Anyatra Chapihi. Manovakkarma dandam cha. Shraddham Bhagavate Shastre. Nindam Anyatra Chapihi. Manovakkarma dandam cha. Satyam Dhammasamavapi. Shraddham Bhagavate Shastre. Man. Shraddham, faith, Bhagavate, related to the Supreme Lord. Shastre, in scriptures, anindam, not blaspheming, anyatra, others, cha, also, apihi, indeed, manaha, of the mind, vak, speech, karma, and one's activities, dandam, strict control, cha, and satyam, truthfulness, shama, self-control of the mind, dhammo, and of the external senses, api, also. Translation: one should have firm faith that he will achieve all success in life by following those scriptures that describe the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan. At the same time, one should avoid blaspheming other scriptures. One should rigidly control his mind, speech, and bodily activities. Always speak the truth and bring the mind and senses under control. Responsively, please repeat. One should have firm faith that he will achieve all success in life by following those scriptures that describe the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan. At the same time, one should avoid blaspheming other scriptures. One should rigidly control his mind, speech, and bodily activities. Always speak the truth and bring the mind and senses under full control. Purport by the followers of Srila Prabhupada. The definition of Shraddha, or faith, is given as follows in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 22, text 62. Shraddha shabde vishwas kahe shudri nischai Krishna bhakti koila sarva karma krita hai. By rendering transcendental loving service to Krishna, one automatically performs all subsidiary activities. This confident, firm faith, favorable to the discharge of devotional service, is called Shraddha. Thus, a devotee should be confident that by carrying out the injunctions of Bhagavat Shastra or Vedic literature that directly rather than indirectly describes devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one will easily achieve all knowledge and perfection of life. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Mano Vakai Dhandham, or strict control of the mind, speech, and bodily activities, means manasa, vachika, kayika, vikarma, rahityam. That is, one should rigidly abandon all sinful activities with his mind, speech, and body. As Srila Prabhupada has repeatedly pointed out, sense control does not mean stopping sensory activities, thus becoming like a dead body, but rather engaging one's mental, vocal, and bodily activities in the service of Krishna. Srila Rupa Goswami has stated, Iha yasya Hare dasye karmana manasa gira nikila svapyavastasu Jivan Muktas Uchate. A person acting in Krishna consciousness in the service of Krishna with his body, mind, intelligence, and words is a liberated person even within the material world, although he may be engaged in many so-called material activities. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-187. Thus, one can achieve vikarma rahityam, or freedom from unauthorized sinful activities, by engaging one's senses, mind, intelligence, and speech 24 hours daily in the service of Krishna. In the Bhagavad-gita, Lord Krishna says that only those pious living entities who are vikarma rahita, completely free from sinful life, can achieve freedom from the illusory duality of material nature. Samatam dhandva sangyayo. The Lord says, Yesham tvantikitam papam jananam punyakarmanam te dhandva moha nirmukta bhajate mam dridha brataha. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, whose sinful actions are completely eradicated and who are freed from the duality of delusion, engage themselves in my service with determination. Bhagavad-gita 7:28. In his purport of this verse, His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada has stated, quote, those eligible for elevation to the transcendental position are mentioned in this verse. For those who are sinful, atheistic, foolish, or deceitful, it's very difficult to transcend the duality of desire and hate. Only those who have passed their lives in practicing the regulator principles of religion, who have acted piously and who have conquered sinful reactions, can accept devotional service and gradually rise to pure knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then gradually they can meditate in trance on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the process of being situated on the spiritual platform. This elevation is possible in Krishna consciousness, in the association of pure devotees who can deliver one from illusion, unquote. Srila Madhva Acharya has quoted the following statement from the Brahmanda Purana, quote, one should have complete faith in transcendental literature such as Srimad Bhagavatam and other literature that directly glorifies the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should also have faith in Vaishnava Tantras, the original Vedas, and Mahabharata, which includes Bhagavad-gita and which is considered the fifth Veda. The Vedic knowledge originally emanated from the breathing of Vishnu, and Vedic literature has been compiled in literary form by Srila Vyasadeva, the incarnation of Vishnu. Therefore, Lord Vishnu should be understood to be the personal speaker of all Vedic literature. There are other Vedic literatures called Kala Vidya, which give instructions in material arts and sciences. Since all such Vedic arts and sciences are ultimately intended to be used to render devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Keshava, saintly persons in the renounced order of life should never blaspheme such apparently mundane literatures, because such literatures are indirectly connected with the Supreme Lord. One may go to hell by blaspheming these secondary literatures. Shraddha indicates a faithful mentality, which can be analyzed in two sections. The first type of faith is a firm conviction that all the statements of the multivarious Vedic literatures are true. In other words, the understanding of the Vedic knowledge in general is infallible, is called Shraddha, or faith. A second injunction of Vedic literature, in order to achieve his goal in life, A devotee of the Supreme Lord should thus apply the first type of faith to the various Kala Vidyas or Vedic material arts and sciences. But he should not accept such scriptures as pointing to his personal goal in life, nor should he carry out any Vedic injunctions that is contrary to the injunctions of Vedic scriptures, such as the Pancharatna. Unquote. Quote, thus, one should faithfully accept all Vedic literatures as directly or indirectly describing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and should not blaspheme any portion of it. Even for Lord Brahma, as well as for other creatures, down to the insignificant, unmoving species, such as trees and stones, blaspheme of any Vedic literature causes one to merge into the darkness of ignorance. Thus the Asuras, the demigods, great sages, and devotees of the Lord, should understand that the Pancharatrika literatures, as well as the four Vedas, the original Ramayana, the Srimad Bhagavatam, and other Puranas, and the Mahabharata, are Vedic literatures that establish the supremacy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the unique transcendental position of the Lord's devotees according to their status of spiritual advancement. Any other vision of Vedic literatures is to be considered an illusion. In all authorized religious scriptures, the ultimate goal is to understand that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the controller of everything and everyone, and that the Lord's devotees are not different from Him. Although such devotees are to be understood in terms of their level of spiritual advancement. Unquote. Lord Krishna has stated in the Bhagavad-gita, Vedaischa sarvair aham eva vedyo, Vedantakrid Vedavid eva chaham. By all the Vedas I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. Similarly, the Lord states, Yashmat sharam atitoham aksharad api chottamaha atosmi loke vedecha partita purushottamaha. Because I am transcendental, beyond both the fallible and the infallible, and because I am the greatest, I am celebrated both in the world and in the Vedas as the Supreme Person. Bhagavad-gita, chapter 15, text 18. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur mentions that one cannot develop the godly qualities mentioned in the preceding verses unless one accepts the shelter of the lotus feet of a bona fide Vaishnava spiritual master. Tasmad Gurum Prapadyeta Jigyashu Shreya Uttamam. In this connection, he has quoted the following statement. Achayitva tu govindam taryam nacharyat tu yaha nasa bhagavato gyeya kevalam dhambika smritaha. One who performs worship of Lord Govinda but fails to worship his devotees should be understood to be not a devotee of the Lord, but simply a victim of false pride. For one who has accepted shelter at the lotus feet of a pure devotee of Krishna, it is very easy to execute worship of the Lord Himself. For such a surrendered soul, there's no need of artificial penances and austerities. In this regard, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has quoted the following from the Narada Pancharatra. Aradito yadi haris tapasa tata kim, naradito yadi haris tapasa tata kim, antir bahir yadi haris tapasa tata kim, nantar bahir yadi haris tapasa tata kim. If one is worshipping Lord Hare, what is the use of performing extraneous penances? And if one is not worshiping Lord Hare, no such penances will save one. If one can understand that Lord Hare is all pervading within and without, what is the need of performing penances? And if one is not able to understand that Hare is all-pervading, all his penances are useless. A Vaishnava is always absorbed in executing his devotional service to Krishna. If a devotee becomes falsely proud of executing severe penances and austerities and meditates on accepting and rejecting material objects, instead of thinking of his service to Krishna, his so-called austerities become an impediment to devotional service. A devotee should not be disturbed by the word jugglery of those who are against devotional service of the Lord. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has emphatically pointed out that devotional service to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord is the only means of achieving the final perfection of life. Therefore, a Vaishnava should practice maunam, or silence, by ignoring those literatures which are full of false arguments, such as those of the Mayavad school, and those karma kanda scriptures which promote sense gratification in the name of religious life. If one becomes overwhelmed by mundane unhappiness due to not achieving immediate success and self-realization, or if one becomes deluded by sense gratification and tries to take shelter of materialistic men and doctrines, one's devotional service will immediately be checked. Similarly, if a devotee expresses love for things separate from Krishna, or tries to find fault in the process of devotional service or the philosophy of Bhagavad-gita in order to justify absorbing himself in sense gratification of seeing things separate from Krishna, his progress in spiritual enlightenment will seriously be disturbed. Such an illusory concept is called dvitiya bhinavesh, or absorption in illusion. On the other hand, if one is attracted by the vibration of Vedic sound, by the consensus of self-realized authority called Vaishnava Parampara, and thus engages enthusiastically in Krishna Nama Kirtan, or chanting the holy name of the Lord, then one's practice of mauna, or silence, is perfect. One should avoid prajalpa, or whimsical conversations unrelated to devotional service. Merely restraining the senses artificially, without chanting and hearing the glories of the Supreme Lord, cannot be considered the spiritual perfection. The example is given that although many domestic animals in the barnyard are sometimes forced to practice celibacy when isolated from one another, such animals cannot be considered brahmacharis or spiritual students. Similarly, one is not considered spiritually advanced simply because of dry speculative arguments or temporary austerities. One must submissively hear the message of the Vedic sound vibration, especially as it is summarized in the Bhagavad-gita by the Lord himself, Vedaischa sarvair aham eva vedyaha. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has warned us that if one becomes attracted to non-theistic ethical philosophies, such as those of the Buddhists and Jains, which glorify such mundane principles as ahimsa or nonviolence, one's mundane faith in godless ethics is spiritually suicide. To restrict the senses by artificial austerities and to undertake huge social arrangements to facilitate mass sense gratification are both godless attempts to regulate human society in an artificial way that hides the eternal relationship of every living entity with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the natural leader of society. So, when so-called moral philosophers spoil the opportunity of human life, the opportunity to revive our eternal relationship with Krishna in the name of ethics, such foolish persons commit the greatest violence against human society. Therefore, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has said, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Doi Kore Vichar vichar koile chite bhabe kamat chamatkar. If you are indeed interested in logic and argument, kindly apply them to the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If you do so, you will find such mercy strikingly wonderful. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, Chapter 8, Text 15. According to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, a Mahabhagavad, a pure devotee of the Lord, is one who sees that both the material and the spiritual world are non-different from Lord Krishna, being expansions of his potency, but also sees that Brajendra Nandana, Krishna, keeps himself eternally distinct by his unique quality of all attractiveness. Thus, thus a pure devotee of the Lord is aniketina, without a fixed resident, meaning that he accepts neither the gross nor subtle body as his eternal residence. Since one's so-called home and family are expansions of his body, such material creations are also not to be considered one's actual residence. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said, Ai nanda tanuja kinkarang patitam mam vishame bhavam buddho Kripaya tavapada pankajastita duli sadvisham vichintaya. O Krishna, son of Maharaj Nanda, I am your eternal servant, yet somehow or another I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms of your lotus feet, Shikshastika 5. Thus a devotee should understand that his eternal residence is fixed in the dust of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A Vaishnava should reject the gross sense gratification of living in the forest in the mode of goodness, in the city in the mode of passion, or in a gambling house in ignorance. A pure devotee should travel all over the world distributing Krishna consciousness, but he should never consider any material place to be his actual residence. One who has become mature in this understanding may take the Tridandi Sannyas order of life under the direct shelter of the Lord. The impersonalist cannot understand how the devotee of the Lord, although fixed in the duality of seeing himself as eternally different from the Lord, sees all existence as non-different from the Lord. Those who attempt to acquire knowledge by impersonal speculation based on their tiny experience of the material cosmic manifestation cannot understand the transcendental reality of achintya bheda bheda tattva, the absolute true simultaneous oneness and difference with his creation. The process of assimilating this transcendental knowledge is given in these verses, starting with tasmad gurun prapadyeta. One is recommended to accept a bona fide spiritual master and serve him according to the direction of these verses. The essence of such instructions is that one should abandon the association of Mayavadi impersonalist, ritualistic, fruitive workers and those who are whimsically indifferent to the ultimate purpose of life, and instead one should elevate himself to associating with the devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A falsely proud neophyte may imagine himself a great devotee of the Lord without taking to the company of the Lord's followers. But without such association, it's not possible to become advanced in Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna. I think that's a record purport. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshura Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langai Degadim Yat Kripa Taraham Bande Shri Gurundi Nataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Swaram. So the first word mentioned in this purport is faith, Shraddham. So faith is something that everybody has in their life. Everybody has faith. It's all a matter of where you want to put your faith. Just like if one drives a scooty, right? You're driving your scooty, so it seems like a pretty mundane thing, but it involves a great amount of faith to drive a scooty. Because, or any vehicle, right? Car, whatever it is, truck. Why? Because it's based on faith. You have faith that, at least in this country, everybody's going to keep to the left, right? If you didn't have faith that everybody's going to keep to the left, you wouldn't even drive that vehicle because it would be chaos. Everybody driving every which way, which sometimes they do anyway, right? But because you have some faith that everybody's going to keep to the left, stop at the stop sign, therefore you get in your vehicle and you also try to get from point A to point B. So faith is there. It's already there. But it all depends upon where you place your faith. Huh? Where are you going to put your faith? Some people have faith in their country. Yeah? And some people have faith in their family. Some people have faith in the demigods, right? And even Lord Krishna explains in the Bhagavad-gita that I give them the faith by which they can worship the demigods, right? It's mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam that a diseased person should worship the sun. If you want a good wife or husband, you should worship Uma. Right? Like that, it's mentioned in Bhagavatam. So, it's all a matter of where we want to put our faith. And the grade of a devotee is based upon how much faith they have, right? A neophyte doesn't have very strong faith, and more advanced devotee has strong faith. So what is that faith? That faith is that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and I am meant to serve Krishna. This life is meant to serve Krishna. Right? This faith. Right? We have faith. In the material world, the idea is that I am this body, in place of I am the servant of Krishna, I am this body, and I am meant to satisfy the senses of this body. That they have faith. They have so much faith that, and they're ready to work very hard for that purpose in life. They get in the train early in the morning. Literally, they risk their life to get in the train early in the morning. And every day, so many people die, isn't it? They get pushed out of the train, or they fall, or they splat, finished. Okay? So they rush into the train, get out of the train, get in a line, wait for the bus. The bus takes them to their work. They work hard all 8 hours a day, and then get back in line for the bus, then again pack into the train, and get home at night. And for all that effort, they eat a little something and go to bed and try to have sex. So they have faith that this is happiness. Although, many times they become so frustrated, right, that they take shelter of, what do they take shelter? Intoxication, right? Why? Out of frustration. They have faith that this hard labor will make me happy, but it doesn't always work like that. And it's very flickering. The happiness is very flickering. So they take shelter of intoxication. That's why you see so many bars, although they say family restaurant and bar. Right? I don't know what's family about a bar, but they say like family restaurant and bar. Right? Because people are going there out of frustration to take shelter of whatever it's called, Kingfisher or Heineken or whatever it is, right? But the devotees of the Lord, they have voluntarily, through some experiences of life, through knowledge that they've gleaned from the Vedic literatures, they want to put their faith in something else. Right? They want to put their faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They put their words in the faith in Shastra. Right? So Shastra explains that this material world, Krishna explains in Bhagavad-gita, is dukkhalayam and ashashvatam. That no matter, Shastra describes, how hard you work in this material world, you're not going to make it sukhalayam. It's just not going to happen. Right? Right? So they have faith in that. And in that way, they do not waste their time trying to become happy in this material world. But it doesn't mean, as Prabhupada, as the purport mentions here, that we become non-active. We don't do anything. No, it's not like that. Prabhupada said once that, when Krishna and Arjuna were in the chariot, Krishna didn't say to Arjuna, Arjuna, you just sit there, I'll kill everybody, and you sit in the chariot and smoke ganja. He didn't say like that. Not at all. What did he say? He encouraged Arjuna, do your duty as a Kshatriya and fight. Right? So, the devotee of the Lord, and Arjuna was thinking not to fight. Why? Because on the basis of sense gratification. He was thinking, if I killed my cousins and my teacher and my grandsire, then who will I enjoy the kingdom with? Right? So that word, who will I enjoy? Enjoyment was the goal. Right? That's what he was thinking anyway. But Krishna enlightened Arjuna. When Arjuna had come back after Krishna had left the planet, and he was bringing the queens back from Dwarka to stay in Hastinapur, the queens of Dwarka. At that time he was attacked by some ordinary cowherd men, and they defeated him and took away the queens. Of course, we understand from the acharyas that those ordinary cowherd men were actually expansions of Krishna, and that Krishna took away the queens. But he was feeling very despondent at that time. He was thinking that I even fought with Indra, the king of heaven, and defeated him. Right? And now I couldn't even defeat these cowherd men. Cowherd men, they're not usually big, strong warriors. They got sticks, or, he got defeated. So he was feeling very despondent. And also because Krishna had left the world. But when he remembered the words that Krishna had spoken to him on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, all his illusion was dissipated, all his despair was dissipated, and he became fully Krishna conscious. So it takes faith. Faith has to be developed. And we develop faith by practicing devotional service. So one may ask, why should I practice devotional service? Nectar Devotion describes that one of the reasons we should practice devotional service is that we will become free from suffering. Pure devotional service frees us from suffering. We're suffering in this material world because of performing various sinful activities. The result of performing sinful activities is that one suffers. If one is very poor, not born in a very well-to-do family, not very beautiful, not very educated, these are all reactions from sinful activities. All right? So, pure devotional service, as described by Rupa Goswami, removes all the reactions to sinful activities. So it describes there that we're getting the fruit of some sinful act, and therefore we're suffering now. But there's so many sinful acts that are lying with that in the form of a seed that we will suffer for in the future. But pure devotional service, right, eradicates all the sinful seeds, Papa Beach. Right? So that devotional service begins with hearing. We hear about Krishna, we're hearing about the benefits of being Krishna conscious, right? And that begins, as mentioned in the purport and the earlier verses, by approaching the spiritual master. Right? That's what Krishna recommends in the Bhagavad-gita. Tadviti pratipatena pariprasnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattva darshanaha. Right? People, they're so unfortunate in Kali Yuga, they have an idea that yes, I'll approach a guru, right? But they get cheated. There's so many cheaters in the name of being guru, right? That mislead people. It's stated that for a guru to engage a disciple in karmic activities, right? It's just like taking a small child to the edge of a well and throwing him in. That's cruel, right? Take a small kid to the well and just throw him in the well, right? Pretty cruel, right? Well, a guru who does those type of activities is that cruel, right? The living entity is already suffering in this material world, right? And if his teacher encourages him to continue to do that for whatever reason, it's cheating. A real guru gives the essence and the importance of this rare human form of life, and that's what this chapter is about. The Navayogendras are explaining to Maharaj Nimi what to do to get the highest benefit. Tasyaiva heto paryateta kovito nalabhyate yad brahmatam uparyada. An intelligent person, right? He uses this human form of life to search out that thing that's not available from going to the Brahmaloka down to the hellish planets. And what is that thing? That is the association of the Lord in His spiritual abode. So to obtain that, one has to enter into pure devotional service. And that devotional service begins with chanting the holy name of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Devotional service is easily performed. in the Nectar Devotion, it also describes that devotional service, pure devotional service, is very rare, rarely achieved. But it's rarely achieved not because it's so hard to do. Devotional service is easy to do, right? Chant Hare Krishna, dance, and take prasadam. That's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited while he was living in Jagannath Puri. He was chanting the holy name. He was taking Jagannath Prasad, right? Dancing, right? But if you tell people this easy process, they won't accept it, right? They'll try to do something more complicated. Astanga Yoga, pressing their nose, or standing on their head, huh? They'll think this is the real thing. These all chanting is sentimental, people. Right? Therefore, devotional service is rarely achieved because people don't take to it. Such an easy thing, right? So, as we read these chapters, we'll better understand how to perfect our devotional service and how to be progressive in the ultimate goal of life, which is to go back home, back to Godhead. There, in the spiritual world, there's so many things to do for Krishna. So many things. Krishna expands himself, his Ladini Shakti, into the cows and the cowherd boys and the gopis in Krishna Loka. And specifically as followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we want to go to Krishna Loka. Right? Vaikuntha is, the six Goswamis tell us, Raghunath Das Gomi, he prays to his mind in the prayers called Manasiksha. He says to his mind, don't even think about going to Vaikuntha. No way. Only Krishna Loka. Right? So it seems like a very daunting task. How will fallen me ever attain Krishna Loka? But don't underestimate the power of the holy name, association with devotees, right? And Krishna Prasadam. These things can transform our hearts so that we have faith that I want to use this life. So many lifetimes. I had so many lifetimes. I had so many bachas. I had so many bungalows. I had so many bibis. Right? Now this life, let me use this life, this one life, dedicated to the service of Krishna. And if we have this kind of faith, then certainly, by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his pure devotee, we can be transferred at the time of our death back home, back to Godhead. Hare Krishna. Are there any questions? Mike?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. As you explained, that bhakti is very simple, chanting, dancing, feasting in association of devotees, and we see the result also comes. I mean, I may not have faith on the process, but when I follow the process, the result comes. But even we see that so many, sadhakas, they are practicing. That determination is not coming. One thing, how to increase that determination. Second, even though I have knowledge that this will help, but there's no enthusiasm to chant, there's no enthusiasm to dance, there's no enthusiasm to associate with devotees. So how to develop that enthusiasm and increase the determination?
So, Nishtayat, Enthusiasm. It's a very important aspect of Krishna consciousness. In the Nectar of Instruction, Rupa Goswami says, the enthusiasm, determination needs to be there. So if we only have, and patience. Patience is a very important factor. If you don't have patience, you may be enthusiastic, but it kind of turns into the mode of passion unless you have patience. Prabhupada gives the example of the newly married lady. She wants to have a kid right away, but it's not going to happen right away. One has to be patient. Same way, we are engaged in the process of devotional service, chanting, dancing, associating with the devotees, but the result we have to give some time, right? But even in the midst of that, still the process is joyful. The process is blissful, right? But to get that result, which is strong faith, nishta, that whatever happens, I'm going to serve Krishna. Whatever it is, I'm going to serve Krishna. We have to give it some time. Plus, we also have to be very careful, as mentioned in the verse, nindam. This is about offending other shastras, right? We respect all shastras, right? And so offenses can cut short our enthusiasm. Offenses can divert us towards some other goal, right? You can be in devotional service and go on a detour, trying to chase after something, labh, puja, pratishta, right? Profit, adoration, distinction, followers, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, na dhanam, na janam, right? So, while we're practicing devotional service, we have to be very careful. There can be accidents even on the royal road, Prabhupada said, right? It's not that because the highway from Bombay to Pune is like an American highway, that there's no accidents, right? There can still be accidents if people are inattentive. So devotional service is like that. While we're executing the process, we have to be very attentive. And then we'll hopefully maintain our enthusiasm and our determination to reach the ultimate goal. Is that okay? Hare Krishna. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So from today's verse, we learn that we should not blaspheme other Vedic literatures. So while preaching, if I tell someone not to read Gita Press Bhagavad-gita...
Not to what?
Not to read Gita Press Bhagavad-gita, Gorakhpur.
Oh.
And if I tell them to read Prabhupada's commentary, is that blaspheming other Vedic literatures?
Why you have to be negative? Be positive. Explain the glories of Bhagavad-gita as it is. You don't have to be specific, but you can definitely say, there were so many translations of Bhagavad-gita in America. But after this translation, Bhagavad-gita as it is, so many people became devotees of Krishna. Itna shaktishali hai, Bhagavad-gita jasya tashi, yata roop, tena mula rupe, isme bahut shakti hai, aap और कोई भी भगवान का भक्त बना सकता है. You can explain in a positive way. Why be negative? Why get involved with Gita Press or any other press? Just talk about the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust. Okay? Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for listening. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki. Nitai Gaur Premanande.